All right, I think we are live. Are we? I hope so. Let's see if everything works. Hi, guys. Already 32 people here. Hi, everyone. Hi, Olivia, Coco, Tuana. Well, I can't pronounce your names. I will try. I'm not that good with names. Hey, Romano and Juan, Annabelle. All right, let me know if I am clear, if you can actually hear what I'm saying. I have a new mic, so I'm streaming with a headset now with a little mic attached to it. So I hope the sound is okay. All right, yeah, I'll try to pronounce your names right. All right, so this is the first live stream in quite a long time here on YouTube. So I did some live streams every day with Christmas in 2018, and then the whole year of 2019 I didn't do any streams because I was moving and I couldn't really find the time for it. And now I found a good setup and a new mic, so I will stream regularly again. Am I blurry? That might be because of your connection. I have the image here on my screen on my phone, and it looks alright. I think it's focused alright. Hi from Portugal. That's cool. I'll be going there in a few months. Okay, so um, I have started this nose. I did the first two parts of the stream on Patreon, so you can watch me build this up on Patreon. And I thought, why not do the final part here on YouTube? So the plan is to finish this tonight. You can find the reference on screen, so you'll be able to see what it's supposed to look like. I'm not there yet. It needs a lot more layers. And I'll just be working on this, finishing this, and answering your questions, and also update you on what I have been doing, my life, and what projects I'm working on, etc. Mexico, Atlanta, cool. Latvia, cool. So many countries. What time is it where you live right now? I suppose this is a great time for all the my fellow Europeans. I don't think it's that great for my USA followers. I am working with Faber-Castell Polychromos and then a white Caran d'Ache luminance to blend. And the paper is Kenson 1557, 180 grams. Alright, so a little life update. In some past videos, I have explained that I had quite bad tonsillitis. Actually, it's chronic. I've been having it for about 3.5 months now. I have chronic tonsillitis and my tonsils are very, very large. So I've been having throat problems and voice problems. And it's so annoying because I need my voice for things like this. So It's been really frustrating. I haven't been able to work as much, but now I'm just trying to ignore the fact that I have throat problems and just work because I need to work. I'll be going to the doctor's on a Wednesday, and hopefully he or she says or will accept me into surgery to have my tonsils removed because they are really, really annoying. So, hi Thea. Thanks, Twana. Hi Lynn. Yeah, I really missed the live streams. So I had so much fun when I did them at Christmas 1 year ago, and I'm going to bring them back. So I won't be streaming that regularly. I hope to do it about once every 2 weeks. And then on Patreon, I'm also streaming once every 2 weeks. So I hope, as long as my voice allows it, that I'll be able to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to build up the layers. I have burnished the whole nose already once, and I'm now just going to add more color on top. I have dark sepia here for the bottom half, and I am not adding any of the highlights yet, so I've just ignored the highlights for the first layers, and then I'll be adding those on top with the white gel pen, as I'm not selling this piece. Which song? You guys are talking about a song. I'm not sure which song. Oh, Take Me Home Country Roads. I like that song. Alright, so what I want to do now is start adding all those little textures, dark textures on the nose. So I need a color for that. I'll be going for a brown, I think, walnut brown. I really want to start singing now, but I'm not going to do that. I've been singing all day, which is not good for my voice at the moment. Hi, Sergio. Sergio. I hope I'm saying that right. So I know at the moment Aaron Blaze is also streaming. So probably everyone is watching Aaron Blaze right now, which I don't mind. Actually, I'm quite sad I miss his stream. I always watch Aaron Blaze. That's the only streamer or artist that I watch all streams from, and Lisa from Lockery Fine Art. I watch all her streams as well. Okay, so now going to add all those little textures. So for those who are on Patreon, for the $10 tier, you will be able to draw along. Alright, so this will be very time consuming, this step. Yeah, I saw Lisa pronounce your name in multiple streams. It's always funny how she is trying to pronounce names. I'm trying my best. Um, Ibizet asks, I bought the same paper you are using, but still haven't used it yet. Can it take a lot of layers? Yes, it can. It's not super thick paper, but it can take quite a lot of layers actually. So just the right amount of layers for me, as I work with quite a light hand. I've been using this paper for about 5 years now, so I really became accustomed to it. And Annette asks, will I be drawing the whole dog? No, just the nose. It was just a study actually. I had hoped that it was finished already, but it took longer than I had expected. So I will be drawing the nose and then a little bit of fur around. So a little bit of fur here and then a bit here. But it takes so long to draw such a large nose. I had misjudged it a little bit. So now with walnut brown, I'm drawing in all those little round textures, which I don't know what they're called still. Heidi, ik weet het niet. Ik denk dat ik dan eerst een verwijzing van de KNO-arts moet hebben, sowieso. Dus daar ga ik dan woensdag heen. En dan hoop ik dat hij of zij zegt dat ze inderdaad verwijderd moeten worden. En dan ga ik even kijken waar precies. Want ik woon vrij ver van België vandaan. En ik heb geen eigen vervoer. Dus het zou handiger zijn als het gewoon in mijn eigen ziekenhuis kan. I'll be in Portugal to do... Oh, just a tourist. I'll just be a tourist. Maybe one day I'll be traveling to also do workshops, but not yet. How long would it take from start to finish this drawing? I think I've already spent 2 hours on it, and I think it will take another 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. As I'm talking a lot, so I don't work as quickly. I hope 1.5 hours. And I'm not aiming for this to be a masterpiece. I just wanted to do a quick little study for the first live streams on Patreon. Then every month I will do a new piece in a live stream on Patreon. So I've already decided that I want to do a pastel piece, as that's going a lot quicker than this. Yeah, I've never been to Portugal before. I'm going to Lisbon. Lisbon? So I wanted to ask, who of you guys had their tonsils removed and how was it? Usually they do it with kids when they're quite young, because then the surgery is not as heavy. But the older you get, the more difficult the surgery gets, I've heard. So I'm quite scared actually, because I've never been in a surgery before. So I've already burnished a couple of times on these layers, so I'm noticing now that it's starting to become a lot harder to add any more color. So I need quite a lot of pressure now to get these textures in. And then after this, I will not do any more burnishing, I think. Lots of people are told to eat ice cream. Yeah, I've read that too. It doesn't always help though. I did some research. Melissa says I had mine out when I was 18. Not gonna lie, it wasn't pleasant at all. No, I can imagine. I'm not looking forward to it. But I really hope that they can be removed because now they are like so large that they are like squishing each other in the center of my mouth. So they are blocking my whole airway, which means that I can't really sleep that well. I can't eat that well. My voice sounds different from normal. I'm snoring like a mad person. Really not charming. Swallowing is not easy, so sometimes you might hear me swallow through the mic, and I make weird noises when I swallow because it's that hard. So actually, I can't wait until they're out. It is very uncomfortable. I've become used to it, I think, but it is very uncomfortable. Lynn says, my niece had her tonsils out and was given fish and chips. She didn't eat them. I wouldn't either. That's really hard to eat, I think, after having surgery in your throat. I've heard that you can only eat like fluid things, like smoothies and soup and things like that. Alright, so this is taking a long time. So I'm not copying the photograph here, just looking at the textures and doing something similar because I'm not aiming for a hyper realistic drawing here. And then please let me know what to draw in the next live stream. I feel like the colored pencil on pastel mat, I feel like it's doing very well. People really enjoy it, so I might do something with colored pencil on pastel mat next time. Donna asks, hard word, on a regular dog, how hard is it to do all the details? It depends. It also really depends on the photograph, I feel. I feel the better the photo, the easier it is because it's easier to see the details. If you have a blurry photograph, you have to make everything up yourself, which is really, really difficult. So I've practiced a lot, so I don't find it that hard anymore to do dog portraits. The only thing I still find really hard is curly fur, especially white curly fur. That's what I find very hard. But drawing like details, I don't find very hard anymore. It's just what you decide to practice. And the more you practice something specifically, the easier it gets. I'm curious how you get them to work on pastel mats. Yeah, layering, it's a bit of a learning curve. I found that working with a super, super light hand from start to finish is very important. So the first layers have to be super light. You can start with a bit of a darker underlayer and then add lighter hairs on top or lighter details, but you have to work very lightly because the paper gets saturated pretty fast, I feel, with colored pencil. So I think that's a bit harder than with pastels. All right, almost there. Whoops, my paper is shifting. Melissa says, I love drawing large cats, but I do struggle with proportions. That's also practice. So, up until about 2 years ago, I think I did every drawing freehand. I always freehanded, and I practiced that until I could exactly freehand my proportions almost 100% right. And after that, I switched to tracing to save time. So tracing, you can do that because the proportions get very accurate that way. And it's a very good way to save time and also train your eye to draw the right shapes. So I would combine tracing with freehanding. Freehand a drawing and then trace a drawing, then freehand it again, trace it again. And you'll learn to train your eye that way. Yeah, the grid can help as well. The grid method. I don't do it because it takes too much time. The grid can also really help. Um, any preference for colored pencil over pastel pencils on pastel mats? I've done 2 drawings with colored pencil on pastel mat now. I've combined them, combined pastel pencils and colored pencils, and I feel like colored pencils are more natural to me when it comes to the techniques. So for me, I prefer colored pencil on pastel mats, but I really prefer combining the two because then you get like the best of colored pencil and the best of pastel pencil in one drawing. But that's personal. I feel like pastel artists who have way more experience with pastels than I do, might find it really weird to work with colored pencil. I get pastel mats. Here in the Netherlands, there's one site I always order them from, but if you're not in Europe, you won't be able to order from that site. So you'll just have to find or a website or a store in your country. Amazon has it, I think. Yeah, that's a good question. Where do you live? Okay, finally, almost done. Alright, so now all the important textures are in. Oh wait, I need to do some on the bottom half as well. So for that I use dark sepia. Oh, West Virginia. Then I can't help you, I think. I don't know any stores there. Only Amazon. Oh, that's good. Glacier. I hope I'm saying that right. Pastels is something you really need to get used to, I feel. I almost gave up on them because I just didn't know how to work with them. I'm glad I didn't give up though, because now I really like them. My neighbors, my upstairs neighbors, they are doing something. I'm not sure. I hope you can't hear them. Sometimes it feels like they're throwing around furniture or something. I'm hearing really weird things sometimes. What's the longest you've spent on a session? Finished or unfinished art? Do you mean like one sitting or one drawing? Because when I do my drawings, I don't work longer than like 2 hours in one sitting, and then I always need to take a break. So 2 hours is what I usually do in one sitting, and I think the longest I've spent on a drawing is probably about 60 hours. Right, taking the white Cavendish, just blending, smoothing everything out, pushing the textures that I just put down into the paper to mix them with the underlying colors. Oh, now I want to make this transition from the dark into the light color a bit smoother. So for that, I'll be using, let's do a bit of brown. Yeah, that's so weird. Why would you drag or throw your furniture all day? It really sounds like it sometimes. This area can use a bit more shadow. Long live the white luminance. Yeah, totally. That has really made my colored pencil artist life so much easier. Oh, that's really nice to hear, Glazen. Yeah, the right paper is so important. I'm really glad I could help you. This is taking so long. I really want to get done with this. I want to start a new piece. I'll be starting some real fun drawings next, for Patreon mainly. I'll be doing a dog and a horse eye with colored pencil and pastel mat, and a dragonfly with pastels. Trying to get that all finished before the end of the month. Yeah, I've tried using like specific blenders as well, but they don't work as good as the luminance does. When practicing, does it matter what paper you use? That's a good question. I think it does because in the end, your finished pieces need to be on the right paper as well, or the paper that works for you. So every paper works differently. So if you do your practice papers on other paper, you will never know what your real good pieces come out like on other paper. So I would always practice on the paper you want to do your end pieces on. Although I understand that doing like practice things on pastel mat, which is really expensive, it can be a bit of a bummer. That's why I don't really do studies anymore. This is a study, but this paper is not really expensive, so I can allow myself to do that, but I wouldn't do something like this on pastel mat. I would make it a bit more of a finished piece, as pastel mat is so expensive. How will I achieve the shiny effect? I will do that with a white jelly roll pen, white ink pen. Um, that will be the last step. Only a white ink pen is not archival, so if you're selling a piece, I would not recommend to use that. Instead, I would use a mixture of Touch Up Texture and Titanium White by Aliona Nicholson. But this is just a study, so I'm just going to add the highlights with a white ink pen. Let's see. The paper is just as important as the medium. Yeah, you're very right. The paper will really decide a big part of your outcome. Do I prefer to draw horses or dogs? Well, that's a hard one. I haven't drawn a lot of horses lately. I always really enjoyed to draw horses, but I think because I've drawn so many my whole life, I think I find dogs more challenging right now. So right now I would prefer to draw dogs. Though I still really love horses. I love drawing them because, but I've just done too many. Are you super critical of yourself? I usually criticize every art I do while everyone praises it. Yeah, yeah, same with me. I'm very critical of myself, I've always been, but that's also the reason that I've grown so fast, I think. I'm always critical. I'm never 100% happy or satisfied with my work. I can be for a little while, but after a while, I always see things that I could have done better. But I like that. I like that about myself because it does pushes me to it does push me to improve every time. That was good English. All right, so I'm really quite done with this. I want to start with the fur. All right, finally, I'm going to darken up some of these darkest textures on the nose, adding some black. Dankjewel, Petra. I think the artist is always the most critical of their own work. You can be happy with your work. I think it's not really that healthy if you're never happy, because then it isn't fun anymore. But it's really good if you can see um, room for improvement in your work. Otherwise, you just won't get better. What colors have I used in this nose? Ooh, I'm not sure anymore. Let's see. I have used a lot of this color. This is, what is it? Burnt Sienna 50% by Caran d'Ache. That's what I used for a lot of the base tone here on this top half. Then for the bottom half, I used a lot of dark sepia, a lot of walnut brown, and then also quite a lot of nougat. Also, I always use some Caput Mortem violets. And then I also used, where is it? I can't, oh, there it is. Violet. I always use some violets. I like using violets. It deepens the color. I always use it in fur as well. I use it a little bit here, as you can see. That's basically it, I feel. I think I'm just going to start adding the highlights now, see what it looks like, because it looks very flat right now, but I feel like as soon as I'm adding the highlights, it will look a lot more realistic. So I think I'm going to do that right now. Oh, this is also a highlight. This one was so big that I just drawn around it. So this is the white of the paper that I left showing through. On this one, I'm going to add some blue, sky blue. And then a little bit of violet as well. Alright, so now I'm getting the white Jelly Roll pen by Sakura. I always like to test it out on my hand, see if it works, if enough ink comes out. And then I'm going to add the white. Everywhere I can see a little white dot in the nose. And I really hope that this will make the drawing a lot more realistic. Whoops, I touched my mic. How many layers until it is enough? That depends. I don't really count my layers, but I feel like I always add about 3 or 4, and then I burnish, and then I add 2 or 3 more layers. And after adding the highlights, I can always go back in and hype up the contrast a little bit more. So let me know what you guys want to see in the next stream, because then I will do that. I really missed it, the live streaming. I had so much fun with the Christmas ones. Looking at the shapes. So some of the highlights might be a bit too bright right now, but when they're dry, I can go on top of it with some blue and give a little color to them. Which gel pen is better, Uniball or the Jelly Roll pen? Have I used the Uniball before? I'm not sure if I have. Maybe. Is that the one with like the thick points? Not sure. But I don't use it anymore, so I think the Jelly Roll is my favorite. You can be really detailed with it. Thank you, Petra. A comment on how I see the colors so well. Yeah, that's just practice. Lots of practice. You really need to train your eye to see what's there in the photo and not start making up your own things, you know. You need to train your brain to do what you see and not what you think that there is. Looks really weird right now with all those white dots. This is really not my best work. I'm having fun with it though. It's a good little drawing to get back into the live streaming habit. Next one will be better. How did I learn to draw? School or self-taught? I went to school for a little while. I went to art school. I did that for about 2 months, but it wasn't really for me. I didn't learn anything, so I just quit. And then I moved on just myself, studying myself. So I still see myself as self-taught, although I did art school for 2 months. But it was only on Saturday, so not full time either. Sergio says, sometimes when I am completely unsure what I'm seeing, I do use a color picking tool. Yeah, that's totally fine as well, if it helps you. Right, some more highlights. Lots of highlights. So in the end, the contrast is what's going to make the nose look shiny and wet. So you need a very high contrast in your drawing. Right now, I feel like the contrast is too high. So I am going to tone some of these highlights down later. First, I need to get them all in. Oh, great, Lynn. Definitely draw a nose. It's very fun. Yeah, you can also do color picking in Photoshop. Sometimes I do that. Basically any software, editing software, I feel. Photo editing software. You also have apps for it. Alright, I think I'm done with the highlights now. Some of these I'm going to leave white, but some I want to tone down with a little bit of blue. Going to use some, let's do cobalt blue. First, I want to make sure that the dots are dry. And then super lightly, just going to go on top of them. I think violet will also look nice. Going to switch up between violet and blue. So I need to be careful to not scratch off the gel pen. I'm not sure what I think of this. It might look nice from far away. Let's see what it looks like on screen. I'm going to leave it this way. And I can go next to the highlights with black, make them pop a bit more. And then for the top half, can use a bit of dark sepia to go in between them. Oh great, now the neighbors are screaming. I feel like it needs more highlights, especially on this side. I think I'm going to add some more. And then I will move on to the fur. So although I'm very critical of myself, it doesn't happen often that I am completely not happy with something I make, but with this one, I think I am not happy. We'll see. Alright, let's get going with the fur. Um, let's smudge these outlines a little more. Sounds like you and I have the same neighbors. Yeah, maybe. I've been living here for 1 year now. Exactly 1 year, actually. But I haven't gotten used to it yet. So I wasn't used to hearing people when inside the house. That wasn't the case with my parents' house, but here I'm living in a flat, so I have upstairs neighbors, I have downstairs neighbors, people who play loud music all the time, screaming all the time. So to work quietly, I always wear a noise cancelling headset because otherwise I just can't work. I can't concentrate. So that's a big negative about this house. I will be looking for another house soon, I think. It would be really, really nice to not have upstairs neighbors anymore. Alright, so let's get started with some hair. And the hairs here below the nose are super, super dark. So I think I'm going to get started with some black, and I'm drawing the shadows in between the hairs right now. So I'm starting on the nose and then drawing short lines in the right direction. This will be the transition from the nose into the fur. Let's see what time it is. It's 9. Right, so I think I'm on schedule. I hope to get this done in half an hour, I hope. So making sure to vary a little bit in the direction of my strokes and the length of them. Shall I do some indenting? That might be really cool. Let's do some indenting. Using the indenting tool. With that, I'm going to draw in some of the lighter hairs. This is going to save time and also really look nice. Hopefully. So I just push into the paper, creating these shapes or indents. Laura, ik gebruik Canson 1557, 180 gram. I'll just do a little bit of fur, not too much, because that's going to take too much time. So let's end it there. Going to continue with the black now. Have I used the dotting tool on pastel matte? No, I haven't yet. I'm not sure if it will work, because I usually use the dotting tool to create white whiskers or really light hairs. When I use pastel matte, I always use like brown or gray. So the dotting tool would only use there if you want to create like brown or gray details. It works the best on white paper. So it might work really well on white pastel matte. How many hours does it take to draw one drawing or painting? I always draw. It depends. Usually I work on 8 by 12 inches, something like that, which takes me between 8 hours and 15, I would say. That's the usual size I use for my Patreon tutorials to make sure that the videos don't get too long. Sometimes I do a commission drawing which takes longer, but my usual drawings take between 8 and 15 hours. Alright, so I think this nose is going to look better when the fur is done. Maybe it's not a complete fail. Dankjewel, Monstra Art. Oh, really, Sergio? But does it damage the paper if you press too hard? Okay. And then for a base layer right here, I'm going to start off with some gray. It looks like warm gray. So let's take warm gray, number 5. I'm just going to put a light layer of that down. So the indents are going to show up right now. I'm really starting to feel my throat now. It's starting to hurt. That happens after I talk too much. Do I think I'm fast or slow at drawing? When I'm drawing and I'm not talking or streaming, then I'm quite fast, but I need a lot of breaks. I don't draw many hours in a row because I can't concentrate for so long. So when completing a drawing, I think I'm quite slow, but actually the drawing itself, I can be quite fast. Oh yeah, you're using 300 grams. That's a lot thicker than the paper I use now. So yeah, then I can imagine that it doesn't damage the paper. It might damage this paper though. Let's decide how much fur I want to draw. A bit more around the nose, I feel. A bit more towards the bottom. I'm using colored pencil on a canvas with odorless mineral spirit and it works like paint. Oh, I didn't know that it works on canvas as well. What kind of canvas is it? Is it like textured or more smooth? Alright, so this is the amount of fur that I want to draw. And I'll also do a little bit here at the top with another color. First, let's finish off this little area. I am going to add some cool gray on top as well, just to get some more variety. Oh yeah, let's add some Payne's gray. Payne's gray is number 181. It's a dark gray with a blue tone to it. Let's add this. So the lighter hairs in this piece of fur are not completely white. So it doesn't matter if my Payne's gray gets into the indents a little bit. Talking becomes hard. The longer I talk, the harder it gets. Starting to become a little tired. Petra, nee, ik gebruik nooit odorless mineral spirit. Ik was de comment daarboven aan het oplezen. Also going to darken up in between the lighter hairs a little bit more. When I feel like it gets too bluish looking, I can switch to a brown and add that on top. I might also use some violet on top. I think I'm going to do that as well. Yeah, let's add some nougat. Just glaze that on top. Little bit of that. And then some Caput Morton violets, because it just looks nice. I always like to get in as much color in my fur as much as possible. As much color as possible. So I almost always add violet and blue. I think I'm also going to add some blue. Some dark indigo, which is a dark blue color. Let's add that. I really like the indenting technique. It saves a lot of time. And then for the fur around the lighter fur, I would start off with a base tone of raw umber 10%, I feel. That's from Caran d'Ache, raw umber 10%, number 842, which is a really nice beige tone. It might be a little bit too dark. I think I'm going to combine it with a little bit of light gray to make sure that it's not too yellow. Yeah, let's add some cool gray 1 as well. So I'm adding cool gray 1 just in that transition from the dark skin into the lighter fur. So I'm working really fast now. If this was a commission, I would have taken a little bit more time. As it's just a study, I don't feel like spending another 2 hours on this, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Then the fur gets a little more yellow. Actually, I also see some violet in the transition. So let's add some violet on top of that. And then I can use gray again. Let's go for Payne's gray to work on the fur transition a little bit more. I find these indents a little bit too light still, so I'm going on top of them. Let's add some gray and darken up these indents because I feel like they stand out too much right now. Some I'm going to leave light, some I'm going to darken up because I want them to be just a little bit lighter than the undertone. Have I tried chloroseptic for my throat? I've never heard of it. I think I'm going to look it up, see if I can get it here. My throat is not really hurting right now. It just feels weird, like there's something in my throat, which there basically is because my tonsils are blocking my throat. Let's burnish this. Going on top of the indents. So the skin right here is not dark enough, but I'm going to add more darkness on top of this to create more texture. I just want this lightest base layer done so I can draw the darker shadows on top. Back to black. Going to go over that transition from the nose into the fur again. Now I can spend a little more time on making the fur texture a bit more realistic. So let me know in the comments what you want me to do for the next live stream. If you want to see pastels or colored pencil on white paper like this, or colored pencil on pastel mat, which is now also something that I want to do more regularly because I enjoy it so much. Stephanie, ja, dit zijn de polychromo's potloden. Alright, this is starting to look a lot better. Dat is wel een goed idee, Stephanie. Moet ik even opzoeken hoe die eruit zien? Ik heb geen idee. Pen pastel. I don't really work with pen pastel. I have a few colors, but not enough to do like a good piece with them. And I've tried a couple of times, but pen pastels don't really seem to work with the way that I want to work. I'm not a real big fan of them. I like pastel pencils way better. I've done a live stream with pen pastels once. I tried a betta fish. It is still on my channel, but it was a complete failure. So now I'm scared to try them again. Alright, pastel. 2 votes for pastels. I'm really looking forward to doing something spring related, like a flower or a butterfly or something like that. I've taken a lot of photos at the zoo last year of flowers and butterflies, so I might use one of my own photos and do a live stream with that. That would be fun. Alright, so 3 votes for pastels. Then I'll do pastels. Let's see. There's a little bit too much blue in here now. So let's add some brown to tone that down. Adding some hairs at the top of the nose as well. Keep looking at the reference to see in which direction the fur is growing. When will I do a horsing colored pencil? Not sure. I really want to do one because it's been a while since I've done a horsing colored pencil. Um, but when I post polls on Patreon, horses never get many votes. I always do what gets the most votes. Usually that's dogs. But I will see. I really do want to do another one though. Okay, so I think the nose is starting to look better now. It's not a complete failure, so that's good. Yeah, I might do that, but I always also want to do like what most of my patrons want to see. I know you're one as well. Um, yeah. Because I have to make my patrons happy. Make sure that most of them are happy because I can only do one like larger piece a month. I can do a horse, but then I can't film it. But I'll think about it. Next month I'm going to do a rodent, something like a squirrel, or guinea pig or something like that. And then the month after, I think I'm going for a horse. I think we're almost there. Let's add a little bit of cool gray right here, just to smudge this out. Let this fade out. Oh yeah, definitely. Horses are very, very interesting to draw with colored pencil, especially shiny ones, so I really love to do that, if there's enough demand for it. And then a little bit of fur on top. Um, it's really nice yellow beige fur. I think I'm going for warm gray to start with. Warm gray too. I'm not going to add too much texture here, just a little bit of fur to make sure that the nose is not floating. And then with a light yellow beige fur, I always like to combine pink tones with warm gray tones because the pink is going to neutralize the gray, make it more of a neutral beige tone. Not too much. I don't want the fur to look pink. And I think I'm going to call this done now. I made it exactly in 1.5 hours. Yep, I'm calling this tutorial finished. I've had quite enough of it. I really want to move on to the next piece. I'm not sure when the next live stream will be. I think it will depend on how things go with my throat, what the doctor says. Um, on Patreon, I will do my live streams and my usual tutorials. If you want to become a member, there's a link in the description. I really appreciate your support. And then I hope I can live stream for you guys as well soon. That will be a pastel tutorial. Ooh, a Frisian horse. That would be so much fun. I haven't drawn a Frisian in such a long time, but it's my favorite breed. I can't talk anymore. It's my favorite breed. So a Frisian in colored pencil would be so nice to draw. Petra, ik ga woensdag naar de KNO-arts. Woensdagochtend. Dus ik ben heel benieuwd. Alright, so I'm going to call this done, go to bed. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And then I'll have a new video going up on Sunday as well, so stay tuned for that. And then I hopefully see you in the next live stream. Thank you so much for watching and have a good night.